Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this new video. And if you are new to my channel, please make sure you guys subscribe so you can get more and more content, and make sure you guys press the little notification bell so that you're notified every single time I drop a video. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I recently gave birth to a beautiful, chunky, delicious baby boy about 2 months ago. So I am currently 2 months postpartum, and I thought what better time to come on here and give you guys a complete update. So in this video, I'm going to be talking all about my personal postpartum journey. I'm going into detail telling you guys every single thing that happened to me within my postpartum recovery, as well as some things that people just don't talk about and prepare you enough for. Of course, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram for daily content and updates. So as I said, I am currently 2 months postpartum. I can safely say that as of now, 2 months in, I am officially done with postpartum recovery in the physical sense. So I want to kind of go back in time, starting from the day I gave birth to now, and give you guys a full track record timeline of all the things that I experienced in postpartum recovery. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys go check out my labor and delivery vlog and story time so you can kind of get a full picture of everything that I've experienced with this birthing journey so far. So there are two important things to note in my personal case that really drastically changed and affected the way that I personally healed within my postpartum recovery. Number one, I pushed for an incredibly long time, about 4 hours. And number two, I had a 2nd degree tear of my perineum. So of course, my journey is slightly different than other people's journey that you may have seen before. Whatever happens within your delivery will affect the way that you recover. So people who have C-sections, people who push for a short period of time, people who have any degree of tearing, all of those things affect how you personally recover for your journey. So as I stated, I pushed for a really long time. And I will say this, what they don't tell you, what I have never been prepared for within my postpartum recovery, is the way your body will feel afterwards. I was expecting, and I was super prepared for, obviously, my vagina to hurt because I pushed a child out. I was prepared for that. I was not prepared for my body to hurt from head to toe, literally. It felt like I got ran over by a car. And it was so strange. I just was not prepared for it, because what happens with me was I had an epidural. So for the duration of the time that I was in active labor and pushing, I seemingly did not feel any intense pain. So as the epidural wore off, my body started to feel the pain come on slowly. By the time I got into my recovery room and I fell asleep or whatever, the moment I woke up, I was like, okay, this is not what I expected. They do not prepare you for the overall body pains that you will feel. It is intense, I will say that. Now, like I said, I pushed for an incredibly long time. So my body pain is probably way more extensive than someone who may have pushed for, a few minutes up to an hour. Like I said, I pushed for 4 hours. So my body was exhausted. So the day after I gave birth, or really more so several hours after, the first time I had to get out of the bed on my own and walk, I thought I could do it on my own because I just didn't, I'm thinking people with C-sections have a way more difficult time and they're the ones who can't walk and blah, blah. No, it is not like that. I had to have Tim and nurses help me walk around because it hurt to move, it hurt to breathe, it hurt to walk. Everything was sore, and not just in like you had a really hard workout sore, in like my body was beat up sore. Hurt really bad. For me, I was really nervous because I had a tear in my perineum. Like I said, I had a 2nd degree tear. I was worried that it was gonna hurt super bad to use the bathroom, pee or poop. And honestly, that was the least of my worries. What hurt was just the overall sitting and laying down. In our everyday lives, we really take advantage of having a seat, we really do. It was so incredibly painful to sit down. I would literally have to ease my way down onto anything. And what I wish I would have known was the extent of that, because I would have prepared more. I would have had the donut pillows. That way I'm not putting direct pressure on that coochie area. But I was not prepared for that, so I did not bring that. So I just had a baby, right? I'm incredibly sore. I can barely move. It's about a 20 to 30 minute process to use the bathroom, and now I have a fresh brand new baby that is super fragile. So it's like, okay, this is kind of a lot, and I'm still in the hospital, so I do have help. And then we start learning how to breastfeed, right? So I start breastfeeding. Y'all, although breastfeeding is probably the best thing for your kid, it is an experience your first time. When you breastfeed, they tell you that you continue to have contractions, you continue to have cramps, but they don't explain to you that it happens at the same time that you breastfeed. I did not realize that. So as soon as I start to breastfeed, my stomach or my uterus is starting to contract down, and it is so painful. And on top of that, breastfeeding was very painful for me in the beginning. And I didn't realize at the time, but my kid had a tongue tie. So he was clamping down on my nipple at the same time that my uterus is doing this, trying to crunch back down. And it was a really painful experience for me. So that's happening. And that the cramping part of the shrinking of your uterus and breastfeeding, for me, that actually only lasted right up to 4 or 5 days. After that, it was I didn't really notice it as much. So as I'm in the hospital, I keep having nurses come in and check me to make sure that my uterus is contracting, make sure that I'm not having any major blood clots come out, because of course that's a sign of hemorrhaging and all that. So they're just making sure. And then I have a nurse come and check my my area, and she goes, "Oh, girl, you're swollen. Like, you are really swollen." And I was like, "I am?" Like, I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably a little swollen. Like, yeah, like that makes sense. I did just push a baby out of my cooch. So I go in the bathroom one of these times, and I go to use my phone to check, because I wanted to see what it looked like down there now. Like, what am I working with now? This was the biggest vagina I've ever seen in my life. Like, that's how swollen it was. It was so swollen, y'all. So just to kind of give you a visual, and I know this is a little TMI, but honestly, this is the kind of stuff that I wish I would have known and heard, so I wouldn't have been so freaked out. So for those of you guys who don't know the anatomy of that, there is your labia minora. Those are the lips on the outside, and then you have your labia minora, and those are the lips on the inside. So you have your labia majora, labia minora. My labia minora, the inside lips, were on the outside of me. They were on the outside of me. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? They were so swollen that it was physically on the outside. That is something that I quite literally never needed to see in my life. It scared me because I'm thinking, oh my God, is she gonna fall off? Like, it did not look human. It didn't look like a human body part. It didn't look real. So sorry for that visual, but I just needed y'all to know what to look out for if you have swelling. So of course I had to immediately get into the ice packs and all that stuff. But yeah, it was disturbing. What I will say that people don't prepare you for also is how long recovery is. I expected to be bleeding. I expected to be in a little bit of pain. I expected that, but because I had a natural vaginal delivery, I was a little naive and ignorant in thinking that, oh, recovery is not going to be that bad because I had a vaginal delivery. Like, yeah, I'm that girl. Like, yeah, I pushed it out, so I'm not going to have that long of a recovery period. Again, this may be because of my specific 2 things that I said in the beginning, the duration of my pushing and my tear. I don't know, but they lied. and I lied to myself. Recovery was long, and it was not, I just don't feel like I was necessarily prepared for how long and drawn out recovery was gonna be. So like I said, it's extensive body pain. So I'm dealing with the body aches, the continued contractions, the painful breastfeeding. Me personally, I did not have postpartum depression, and I still don't. But I do have postpartum anxiety. So I'm the kind of person, I was anxious before pregnancy, anxious during pregnancy, and doubly anxious after pregnancy, because I have this kid and there's all these rules and regulations and thoughts and opinions about this kid, and I have to kind of just do, you know what I'm saying? Even though there's lots of material out there that you can read. There's so many videos that you can watch, but nothing can truly prepare you for laying your kid down and not having to stare at it for 24 hours a day. That alone is difficult. Not wanting to, make sure that he's still breathing. Literally, I would put him in the bassinet next to me, and I would lay like this all night long. And then I would get up, jump up, and put my hand on his chest just to make sure he's still breathing. Like, it sounds crazy, but I can't help it. And I still do that sometimes. I'll wake up out of my sleep because I haven't heard him move for a while and he just knocked out, and I'll make sure he's still breathing. Like, it's the anxiety that you get or can get in the postpartum recovery phase is crazy. But it's understandable, I feel like. Something else I wasn't prepared for was the bruising. My entire body was bruised, and I'm not a person that bruises easily. Despite me being, a fair-skinned black woman, I actually don't bruise very easily. My thighs, my entire thighs and my arms were bruised. They were purple. I'll insert a picture. And that was about a week postpartum. I was so bruised up, and I was so confused, like, why the hell am I bruised? And it's because of the constant pushing and pulling of my muscles that I was doing for 4 hours. Intense, y'all. That's why my body hurts so bad. On top of that, I'm having extensive back pain, all of that kind of stuff, because I'm also recovering from having an epidural put in my back. Mind you, I don't regret getting the epidural. I don't care what anyone says. I don't regret getting that at all. At all. I anticipated bleeding kind of the way I anticipated a heavy period. It's not like that. Even though the concept is the same, it is your uterus shedding that wall and clearing everything out because you're no longer pregnant. It's the same idea as a period, but it is not the same thing at all. It's constant blood. For me personally, when I'm on my period, during the nighttime, my flow is very, very slow, seemingly not there, and it kind of rises and spikes throughout the day. That does not happen with postpartum bleeding. Postpartum bleeding is a constant flow all day and all night. And it is a lot. Like, literally, it is a lot of blood. And you have to have these super long pads to catch the blood. So I had a couple of things going on down there. Like I said, I did deliver vaginally. So we have my vagina just trying to go back to normal. We have a 2nd-degree perineum tear, and I tore it downward. We have extensive swelling of the vulva region. So with all of those things, it's important to have a system in order to help heal all of those things in a proper way. And I'll talk about that in a separate video. But because there are several things used to help heal that area, it can cause other issues such as yeast infections and UTI. I got a UTI because of using all of these things. And it's super, super common. So if you do get 1, 2, or both of those, please don't think something's wrong with you or anything like that. It is so common. I mean, it's a lot going on down there. So I ended up getting a UTI, and that, on top of what I was already dealing with, was super painful because it wasn't just the it wasn't like a normal UTI. I also felt it in my pelvic region. I felt it in my back. It was so painful. So I had to go and get some antibiotics, and it was a lot, y'all. It was a lot. So eventually the bleeding does wear off and it does go down. You don't bleed heavily the entire time. It does dwindle down. But for me personally, what I'm actually still currently dealing with is stiffness. My knees still hurt because of the amount of weight that I gained, and so my body is just literally just readjusting to something different. So I no longer have the tummy, right? And I lost altogether probably 20 pounds from the time I gave birth till now. But most of that was the baby, the placenta, and a little bit of fat. Like, that wasn't really, I didn't do much to lose any other weight. My bones and my joints are still recovering from just all of that pushing and me not really being super mobile within those several weeks. I didn't do much. I couldn't do much because it was super painful for me. And so when you're not mobile for a long time and then all of a sudden you're able to get your mobility back, your joints and your bones feel it, and it's really stressful on them. So I had my 6-week postpartum visit at my OB and I was cleared. They said everything is healing great. My stitches healed properly. I do have a little bit of scar tissue, but that's, I mean, it tore because of the way my delivery went and because of the way my area is recovering. I was a good candidate for pelvic floor therapy, and I think I want to actually do a series on that and how that actually improves my overall vaginal health and things like that. But I think that it's actually really important for a lot of women to look into, especially if you have pain down there for vaginal exams or for sex, because both of which should not be extremely painful. Talk to your healthcare provider about doing pelvic floor therapy, and maybe we can get better together. Well, that's pretty much everything that I dealt with in postpartum recovery. I know it doesn't seem like a long list of things, and it's not, but everything that I dealt with was extensive. So I will say, do not underestimate postpartum recovery, because it is a phase, it is a long process, and I want you to take your time if you can and just allow yourself to heal. Even though some of you may deliver vaginally, don't underestimate that recovery period. Just because we didn't have C-sections does not mean we don't have a crazy recovery, and that is my personal experience. So if you guys want to share your personal experience with me in the comments below, please do so. And if you guys want to see more content like this, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. And that's pretty much it. Y'all have a great day.